Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I've got a makeup tutorial for you that is sort of special effects like, but different. So let's get started. I'm just starting off with a face base, and meanwhile I'll tell you what my whole idea is with this look. Basically, my idea this time is sort of a game inspired look. I gotta admit I'm not much of a, like, I don't know, like what is considered a true gamer. I'm not the sort of person who plays games every single day. I'm more the sort of person who plays games for a couple of evenings, 1 week, and then proceeds to not play a game for like 2 weeks thereafter, because I'm actually quite terrible at games and it annoys me, so then I just quit for a while. Yep. Anyway. I mostly play PC games. And yeah, basically my idea for this look is I want to do sort of a video game character, but like Evil Within, Resident Evil, you know, like sort of game where there's like really realistic characters. So yeah, that's also why I went for a more casual outfit today, because if I were to go out and shoot zombies, I wouldn't be doing it in a fancy dress and high heels, personally. Now, like I said, I am more of a PC gamer. I did have a like game engine, sort of like a game specific gaming device at some point, like the early 2000s. I had a Game Boy Advance SP back when that was new. Yeah, basically I had 2 games. One of them was a Kirby game, Kirby and Amazing Mirror to be precise. I did like that one because it was relatively easy. I also had this Yu-Gi-Oh game. I don't remember what it was called. But I was absolutely terrible at it, and it took me way too much time and effort to get anywhere, so I never actually did finish it. I'm doing shading, by the way. But I never actually finished it, because I couldn't be bothered to actually spend time and effort on a game. See, that's why I wouldn't consider myself a real gamer, because I really don't actually care about finishing the game in itself. Like, I just want to enjoy it, and as soon as I don't enjoy it anymore, I just quit, which is also why I don't have a game computer, and I also like game console, English, yeah. And why I don't spend heaps of money on games, just because I know I'll just quit them unfinished if they don't amuse me anymore, so it's not really worth the money. But yeah, so that's why I play games on my laptop, because I have a laptop anyways for, you know, YouTube and watching videos. Duh. It's always been that way, by the way. Like, even when I was a child, I was like, well, basically, I'm from, wow, it's getting bright. I'm from 1992, so I was a kid in, like, well, basically a kid in the age that played video games. In the late 90s, early 2000s. I think we all, from the same age, like, all of us that are, like, about the same age as me probably remember the games from back in the day. Games like Freddy Fish and The Sims, let's never forget The Sims. Roller Coaster Tycoon, and I also think most of us were sociopaths, sort of, I guess. I don't know, there's probably people who played those games seriously, but I remember me and my friends. Well, for a start with The Sims, we had The Sims, at least I had The Sims The Rich Life, and a rich life it was, because I also had the cheat codes. So I think it was something like Rosebud, if I remember correctly. You had move objects on, so you could move everything, even if it wasn't technically stuff that could be moved. And Rosebud, so you could just, you know, basically get as much money as you wanted. And your Sims didn't have to work, so you could spend all the time torturing them. I mean, letting them live their lives. Yeah, it was so much fun. And then, like, we'd all do stuff like making them jump into the pool and then selling the ladder so they would drown, and like making them be stuck in like a room with no doors and then light up fireworks so the Grim Reaper would come for them. Oh, those were the fun times. And with Roller Coaster Tycoon, by the way, I think I'm done with contouring. And with Roller Coaster Tycoon, we would all used to do stuff like, you know, completely normal stuff, of course. Like making roller coasters that were like on purpose incomplete. So like they would get into the roller coaster and then the roller coaster would go off the track and they would all die. Or like making roller coasters that made everyone really nauseous, and then making sure that there were no toilets anywhere nearby so everyone would vomit on the pots. It was fun. Like, I honestly couldn't tell you why it was so much fun, but somehow it was so much fun. I'm sure some people played those games completely serious and actually tried to get like high scores and like do well. But like, yeah, I wasn't one of those people. We've moved on to concealer, by the way. I put a little bit on the bridge of my nose and my chin, and I'm just putting it, like I've already put it below my eyes. I'm also putting it on my eyelids because I'm going to keep it quite simple with the eyeshadow today. Because I'm assuming if you're going to fight zombies, you're not going to do like a full-on eye look first. Like, who's going to bother? The zombies aren't going to care. But yeah, anyway. Before we had the 90s computers, like the late 90s, early 2000s computers and those games, there were also games on very old computers. Like my first computer was basically a hand-me-down from my dad. A Tulip, I still have him actually, but he's on top of my wardrobe because he doesn't actually work anymore. Like, it's not like he just doesn't boot up. It's more like you press the button and nothing, absolutely nothing still happens. He's just completely dead. Sadly. But he had games too, and oh, I'm gonna have to explain this actually for the younger viewers. Back in the day, and even on somewhat younger computers, you could still see DOS. DOS was basically the thing where you had like the black screen with the white letters. And then you would have to like... Yeah, well, basically on newer computers later in the 90s and like 2000s, it would automatically start booting up Windows. But really back in the day you had to manually tell it to boot up Windows, because you could actually also work in DOS. So you would have to type like slash, if I remember correctly, /C Windows, enter, and then it would ask you start up Windows or something like it, and you have to click the letter Y, of yes. And click enter again, because you couldn't use a mouse in that thing, of course. And then it would go to Windows, which back in the day, by the way, you could only, and I'm talking like early 90s here, you could only have one program open. So nothing like, of course there was no internet to begin with, but you couldn't have like 50 tabs open. No, if you were using Word, you were only using Word. If you wanted to use Paint, then you would have to close Word and then open Paint. Because it couldn't run two programs at once, it just could not. It had megabytes of like memory, and that was something those computers were still quite proud of, because it was a lot in those days. Even though it's like really it's nothing now. So yeah, that's sort of interesting to mention. But anyways, in DOS there were also quite fun games. There was this game that was called Winter Games. Very imaginative, but it was basically, well, it was Winter Games. It was basically Winter Olympics. And really for back in the day, looking back at it, it was really good. There was also this pinball game called Starball, which I absolutely adored. I'm doing highlighting, by the way. That I absolutely adored. It was basically this game where you would... Well, basically it was a pinball game, but when you went game over, the ball went to hell. Like, it was all pixelated, but there was like lava and screaming faces. At the bottom of the screen, there was also this like thing, this face growing out of the wall with huge teeth and sunglasses for some reason. You could shoot the ball into his mouth and you would get points for that too. A floating fly hat. There was also this half-deformed alien. And there were creepy voices too, by the way. It was so cool. And there was also this like floating female head. And then there were demons coming out of her skull. It was so cool. Look up pictures. Maybe there's still pictures up on like Google. Like it's I love that game so much. I actually found it on the side of Abandonware way later, so I still have it on like one of my old laptops too. But yeah, those were the things that I really enjoyed playing on DOS. Just applying powder now. And by the way, sometimes you just seriously realize that like it's the random tiny things from those days that you forget. Like recently on Twitter I saw this sort of meme of like, who remembers this? Of like when you had to actually manually switch off your computer. Like these days you just switch off, like you just close your laptop and it switches off, or you just tell your PC to switch off and it completely switches itself off. Back in the day, I think it was like Windows 95 or something, you actually had to wait for the computer to finish closing itself, and then it will get this message in the screen that said you can now, I don't remember the exact words, but you can now safely turn off the computer. And you would actually have to, like, it's just sort of muscle memory, but like reach down below your desk and toink, click the button to actually switch off the PC, because it wouldn't do that by itself, and if you left it on, it's bad for the PC. But you had to actually physically do that. Like, it wouldn't do that itself. You had to actually physically press the button to switch it off. Like, in these days, and it seems so modern and normal back then, and now when you look back at it, it's like, wow. These days, we sort of just expect the computer to, like, know what we're thinking and do what we want before we've even told the computer what exactly it is that we want. Like, seriously, computers have really changed a lot. Oh, and of course, back in those days, you also had, like, the first incarnations of, like, Nintendo and, like, PlayStation. Yeah, that sort of stuff. But I didn't have those because I was not interested enough in games to actually, again, have an actual gaming console. Now, I've pulled you up a little bit closer. We're actually going to focus on the makeup for a moment, because we're going to start on the more detailed stuff. I'm starting off with my eyebrows, and I'm doing them quite, not really drawn on, but more like I want them to be very much camera focus on my face. Jeez. So annoying. Anyway, but yeah, I don't want my eyebrows to be too, like, painted on. But I do want them to be visible. Like, it's usually in the sort of game vibe that I'm going for. You know, people actually do have facial features that stand out. They don't look like they just rolled out of bed and whatever. But there usually not. They usually don't look like they're actually wearing makeup as something that should be seen, you know. Although I suppose if you're actually stuck in a zombie apocalypse, why wouldn't you do a full on, like, glam look? I mean, it's not like anyone is still going to judge you for anything when you have to shoot zombies not to get your brains eaten, I suppose. Also, by the way, this is Urban Decay Ink Brow. This is my first time using it, and I like it. Also applying some eyebrow gel. Oh, and also probably sort of like depend also on whether or not in a zombie apocalypse situation you actually have a safe space to still do your makeup. You know, because I would imagine that no one is actually going to, like, do their makeup while actively running from zombies, I guess. Now, the eye look is going to be pretty much this. I'm going to use a cream eyeshadow because those tend to look very natural. And I'm just going to put it on my outer crease and then blend it inwards. I really just sort of want to go for, like, shadows. Again, not like a full-blown eye look glam sort of thing. But I do feel like a lot of games make sure to really around the eyes have nice and deep shadows, so you can really see expression well and just see the eyes very well, even when you're, like, playing a game and the characters aren't necessarily, like, in your face, you know, showing their makeup. Yeah, you want to be able to, like, notice people's eyes and expressions, and having more shadows there just seems to give it more contrast and sharpness and game style. I hope you get what I mean. I just want my eyes to stand out basically, and this is just going to make sure that happens in quite a natural way. Then I'm also going to put a little bit of this eyeshadow below my eye in the outer corner, just again to really give the definition. Next up, I want a little bit more brightness, so I'm applying a little bit of a gold tinted liquid eyeshadow. Basically, this is just going to give a little bit of a sparkle in the right lighting, but without making it full on metallic gold. Because I don't want that. Okay, admittedly at first I really wanted to apply some black eye pencil as well, but I think this is actually more the vibe I'm going for. So instead I'm just going to curl my eyelashes and apply mascara. Okay, eyes are on there. Eye makeup, you know what I mean. Now I'm just gonna apply some nude lipstick. Serious question, just something I'm wondering, but like, do you think that in case of a zombie apocalypse, people would start hoarding makeup, considering it would, you know, probably not be produced anymore? I'm tempted to think that people would, because people do hoard the weirdest things like toilet paper and stuff, so... What do you think? Now, next up I want to add some injuries. So I'm going to use scar wax, but before, well, amongst other things actually. Before that though, I'm going to use some 70% alcohol. This is just from the grocery store, not the grocery store, the drugstore actually. To clean the parts of my face where I want the wounds to be. By the way, the reason I'm not doing this first is just simply because then I would apply all the other makeup on top of it and it would look just a little bit too nice, I think. I want it to look slightly gritty because it's supposed to be an injury. So, there's that. And the alcohol is also going to make sure that my skin isn't greasy in the slightest. Because any oiliness will, you know, ruin the effect. Oh, and by the way, if you're doing this for like Comic Con or something like it, if you want to wear it outdoors to an event, try to look for yourself which side of your face you think is prettier. I prefer not this side, but this side of my face. So this is the side that I'm going to make the scar on and all, because if I'm going to take pictures, I'm going to do it from this side. So this is the side that I want the most visible stuff on. Now, I've just made a line with a lip pencil to make the scratch, just deepening it a little bit. This is going to be basically a very fresh scar. And I'm going to make the scar with rigid collodium, which sounds nice and creepy. And it's just basically, it looks like clear nail polish. It sort of pulls the skin together. And with all these special effects makeup, by the way, be safe. Test it out on like the inside of your arm first, on a little tiny piece of skin. Just to make sure you're not allergic to it, because it's not the sort of stuff that you would use on a daily basis randomly, and you don't want to, like, you know, give yourself horrific rashes and stuff like that, probably. You're basically also applying this as a nail polish in a straight line over the eye pencil, lip pencil. Now you're gonna feel this pull your skin together, and the more layers you do, the deeper the scar will get. So yeah, that's why I started with this, because I want to build it up as I go, because it needs to dry, just like nail polish basically. Meanwhile, I'm just going to go grab a brush with a thin end and scar wax to make a scratch on my nose. Now I'm just applying this straight onto my face. You could of course use something like liquid latex below it, just to make sure that you have a little bit more grip. I do recommend that actually if you're going to go for, again, a Comic Con situation where you want it to last all day. I'm not, so I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to put it straight on, especially because it's just such a tiny piece of skin that I'm working on. So it's going to stick well enough on its own. Okay, and then once you've like blended out the edges, it's time to apply another layer of liquid collodium. Rigid collodium, yes. And then we're going to pull you up a little bit closer to make the actual cut in here. Oh, by the way, I think I should tell you, but rigid collodium sort of smells like formaldehyde. It smells absolutely terrible and chemical. Just so you know, that's normal. But yeah, I'm just going to use a tweezer to very carefully split the fake skin. The skin, you know, not the actual skin. Like, you want to keep your actual nose intact is the point. So this is it. Of course, it doesn't stand out a lot yet, so we're just going to make the effect a little bit more there with a pencil. And then as you can see, you have a 3D effect. So I'm just going to powder this now and give it some color. I was still on the fence about my lip, by the way, but I'm just going to apply rigid collodium on that as well. Oh, and by the way, just kicking in an open door here. But whatever you do, make sure you keep this below your lip and not actually in your lip, because I don't know what would happen exactly, but I'm pretty sure it would not be healthy. Now about my nose, I'm just applying a little bit of concealer around the area where where is that brush? Seriously, oh there it is. Anyway, just to make sure it sort of blends in. And you do want to powder first, because you really don't want the scar wax to stick to nice brushes, because that's just doom for the brush, and that's not nice. Oh, by the way, I again forgot to film one product. This rainbowy eyeshadow palette. It looks nice and fun and like joyful. I'm going to use it to make bruises. camera, seriously. I'm going to use it to make bruises. I'm just going to smudge purple and blue and maybe a bit of green and definitely some red together. To get a nice result. By the way, while I do this, because this doesn't require a whole lot of like explanation. The games I play nowadays are, like I mentioned before, stuff like Resident Evil and Evil Within, that sort of stuff. I'm currently actually playing Evil Within. Yes, I know it's a game from 2014, but I only started playing it like about a month back. At the rate it's going, I'll be playing it for like the next, 20 years probably before I'm finally done with it. Because I'm absolutely terrible. Right now I'm at a level where you're like stuck in a building with a whole bunch of zombies, and there is also not poisonous gas, flammable gas. So yeah, I tried to shoot a zombie and the entire place blew up and I died. And I also tried on another attempt to burn a couple of zombies, and I don't know what I expected to happen in a gas-filled building, but it blew up on me. I'm really terrible at games. That's maybe also why I don't play them a lot, because I'm really, really bad at them. Like, absolutely, wow, it's bright. Absolutely terrible. Like, it's almost scary how bad I am at games. So yeah, that's another thing. But hey, I'm enjoying myself and that's what matters. I'm also making some bigger spots around it. Talking, difficult. Just to make my skin look more irritated around the wounded areas. But yeah, anyways, those are the kind of games that I really enjoy playing. The first person shooter, zombie apocalypse adventure games. They're fun. And then lastly, the best way to make sure your wounds look good is to just add some fake blood to them, because that's going to hide anything that's like not looking great. And whatever you do, also don't add too much blood. Because I always sort of feel like with a cut on the nose, for example, even when it's fresh, yes, it's going to be bleeding. But it's not going to be bleeding up to your chin, probably. I mean, I really wouldn't know, because I'm not in the habit of cutting up my face. But yeah, just keep it sort of like realistic-ish. Oh, and just assuming that your game character is actually sort of good at what they're doing. You know, fighting zombies. It might be nice to add some fake blood that's actually, you know, not yours. Like, zombie blood. Now, I'm just going to make myself look a little bit more muddy and dusty, because it just suddenly, like 2 seconds ago, occurred to me that if you're stuck in a zombie apocalypse, you're probably not going to have time to wash your face every morning. So you're going to look a little bit dirty. So yeah, I'm just going to make myself look dirty. Okay, and then for the hair, I could lie and say that I've put oil in it or something, but I need to wash my hair today, so it's just greasy, which is perfect. I'm just going to comb it in my face. If your hair is clean and you want to do a look like this, just, you know, put some oil into it, make it look greasy, and just sort of make sure that it's a bit stringy in your face. And then you're good. And that leaves us with the final results. Yeah, basically just my take on a generic female game character in a zombie apocalypse game. That's a very long name, I'll need to think of something shorter, yes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you want to chat about games, by the way, you can also always do so in the comment section below. If you want to know what sort of products I've used on my face exactly, you can also find it below, but in the video description as always. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button, it would really help me out, because it makes YouTube suggest my videos more often to new people. And if you don't want to miss any of my future videos, you can always subscribe to my channel. For now, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!